But if we go ahead and create another auction, and we both bid normal, let's say, once this ends, kAuction will roll for us automatically in the background, and then the highest roll will win. Some important notes about the random system: it's all hidden, so no one can tamper with the numbers, including the server, the raid leader. They can't see the numbers until they're displayed here. So you can see this time I rolled a 12, the druid rolled a 77, and he was declared the winner. And as normal, the items won is being updated as it should. So that's the difference between loot council and random. I'm going to go back to loot council though. So auction duration, I messed with this a few times. This is just as it sounds. When you create an auction, this is the amount of time in seconds that the auction will last and allow players to bid or change their bid, things like that. And that is what you see indicated by this red bar that goes down. That will drain over the duration of whatever this is set to. And once it reaches the end, the auction is closed and you can't bid anymore. Rarity Threshold, so this determines what items will automatically be auctioned by the add-on. So if you are within one of these valid zones and you have a raid tracking, anytime an auction is created, or excuse me, anytime a loot corpse is looted, or a chest or object is looted with loot, then an auction will automatically be created based on this threshold of rarity. So anything that's epic or greater. The maximum roll limit, I might have mentioned already, but you can change, say you want players to only be able to roll 1 through 3 for whatever reason, you can change that there. Auction close delay, you probably don't need to change this, but this is the amount of time after the auction duration ends that the auction will remain open on the server side. And this is mostly to deal with lag on the server. So because all this information is sent behind the scenes, when there's times of high traffic or lag, any last minute changes, if I bid just a second before the auction closes, sometimes lag can cause it to not catch the server in time. So the server won't get it and then it won't be counted. So this is a delay in seconds, how long the server waits after the close to actually tally things up. The auction close vote delay is the amount of time after the auction ends with which loot council members are allowed to vote. So I'm going to set this to just 5 seconds, for example, and the duration to 10, so you can kind of see it in action. So I'm going to make an auction here. I'm going to bid. You can see it's about 5 seconds until the auction closes. So I'm still allowed to vote. And if I go back, the auction is now closed, and I still have a vote for a few seconds. Now it's gone away because that delay finally ended. In that case, I was the only actual bidder, so it actually didn't even require me to vote or announce a winner because it automatically assigned it to me. But you want this delay to be high enough for your officers or loot council members to actually get through all the auctions and properly vote. So the auto assign items via master loot. This is an option that's useful if you're worried about raid members that you may not know or trust, just looting items, ninja looting items. So you want to use master loot as your main loot type. So if you do that, as the raid leader, when you loot a corpse, kAuction will automatically create the auctions for you as normal. And if you remain on the corpse, on the body, then if this option is checked, whenever a winner is announced, kAuction will automatically assign that item to the player. So that's very handy, just so you don't have to manually right-click the item and go through the name list and click who should actually win. Auto auction, just leave that checked. If you don't do that, then auctions are not automatically created when you loot, and doing it manually is a pain in the ass. Auto award random auctions. So this is basically, should kAuction automatically assign winners when the auction is random. So if this is not checked, usually it does this, but if this is not checked and you've got a couple players that bid, once it ends and the rolls are determined, it's not going to actually assign who wins the item. Instead, the raid leader, as usual, will have to manually click the winner button. So just something to keep in mind, but usually you just want it automatic. And then finally, we have bid details public visibility. So these are some options that you can mess with to affect how client players see details about particular auctions. So these are useful if you want to have a more silent auction approach, have things be more private. So bid details just determines whether the player can actually view the bid information. So let's create an auction. So normally I would left click and I could see the bids, but if I uncheck this and create an auction, now I cannot see the bid information by left clicking. Likewise, current item visibility. Let me set this up again. So as I mentioned, when an auction is created, if you hover over, you can select your current item. So by default, anyone that goes into the bid information can see that current item. But if you uncheck current item visibility, then players will not be able to see what current item was passed along. Roll visibility, same sort of deal. If this is unchecked, when an item is set to random, the roll will be hidden. And same thing for voter. If it's a loot council auction, let's go ahead and make one of those. Vote information is hidden. So you can just kind of see this will keep things a little more private. Alright, so let's move on to Disenchantment. This is just a list of players that are basically enchanters that might be within your raid. So you can add some more people here, you can delete existing ones. When kAuction has an item and there's no winner, so when this runs out, it will be flagged as disenchant, and that just indicates to the raid that no one bid. Let's go ahead and DE this for a little bit. So if you are using Master Looter and the raid leader is looting the corpse when an item is marked as disenchanted, it will try to look through this list, and if any of these players are found within the raid, it will automatically award that item to them to be disenchanted. So just save some time. Item Blacklist. This is a list of items that kAuction will ignore and not automatically auction for you. So usually emblems and things like that would just be in here. Of course, nowadays emblems are generally automatically looted, but if you open a bag that has them or whatnot, they can still be there. So you can just set items you don't want to be auctioned here. Whitelist is a little more complicated. These are basically special case items, usually quest items or mounts, things like that, that you would like to assign a manual auction type differing from the global one. So say you normally do loot council, which is how our guild does it, but you may have a particular item like a mount or a quest item that you want random. So for us, when we do like mount runs somewhere, players just would just randomly roll for it because we don't want to vote. It doesn't make much sense. So in that case, you could add the item here, set it to random, and then add it to the whitelist. And then when that item is auctioned, everyone that bids will automatically be entered as a random roll member, even though the auction type may be set to loot council globally.